Saturday, March 22nd, and we have a ceasefire in Israel. After more than 11 days of intense rocket fire and bombardments of the Gaza Strip and Israel, the sides have agreed to a tenuous ceasefire. And the amazing thing about this ceasefire is that each side believes that they were the victors. There was devastation of 60 miles of tunnels that were built by Hamas in Gaza, along with the destruction of many buildings, rubble all over the place, over 200 people dead. And the Israelis lost about 1/10 of what the Palestinians suffered. This is not the end of this, because now the world is getting together and they are trying to figure out how to solve this problem. And one of the things that bothers me more than anything else is the countries that are stepping up to give humanitarian aid to the Palestinians. The Palestinians who were cheering in the streets when the ceasefire arrived because they believe that they have victory. Standing in the rubble believing they have victory. But there's no victory for them, and there really is no victory for Israel, because Israel will have to maintain its vigilance, because we don't know what will set the next thing off. So I object to humanitarian aid to the Palestinians, because that aid will only go to building more tunnels, although they say the aid will go strictly to the PLO and not to Hamas. But somehow or other, Hamas survives, even though 25 commanders of their forces were killed in this skirmish. Let me call it a skirmish. The UN Secretary General said he welcomed the ceasefire, but they need to return to negotiations between Israel and the Palestinians. And he also called for more humanitarian aid. Well, maybe that's the big problem, because the humanitarian aid never gets to the people. It gets into the hands of their leaders, and they build tunnels, and they build rocket emplacements in civilian areas. And according to the UNICEF, 72,000 Gazans have been displaced by the violence. And that's a lot of people who need homes and shelter. And I can assure you that Hamas is not going to contribute to their homes and their shelters. There are several in Israel who are not happy with the ceasefire. Right-wingers, extreme right-wingers, wish that Israel had continued the bombing and the strafing, and they're not happy with Netanyahu's decision to accept this ceasefire. But it is what it is, and Israel will have to keep an eye out for anything that's liable to happen at any time. And in the United States, we had riots and fighting in Times Square because of what was going on in Israel. We had pro-Arabs and pro-Israeli fighting in Times Square. Is that sick or what? Is that what we've developed in the world, in this country? That the only way to get anything done is by a violent protest? People get hurt, the police arrest people, and it's something that we have no control over? It's not like we could do anything about it. While this thing seems isolated in one little part of the world, it really isn't. It's bringing hatred to the forefront in many regions of the world. And I can tell you right now that this ceasefire, and this issue will never be solved unless the Israelis and the Palestinians come to some agreement about the city of Jerusalem. The mosque and the Temple Mount are holy places in the eyes of both sides. And religion can be an evil thing when you look at it, when people believe they have to defend it with their lives, live side by side and share Jerusalem. And I don't have an answer. I don't have an answer because it doesn't matter what the answer will be. It will not satisfy either the Jews or the Arabs. I just know that it's going to be looming there, and it will cause discomfort, and that's a mild word, to everybody who considers that their sacred holy place. Well, this is the fourth incident. I don't want to call them wars or battles. This is the fourth incident that has occurred. And just like the other three incidents, hasn't reached a conclusion. The Palestinians have claimed victory. At least Hamas has claimed victory. Despite taking a beating and losing over 200 people and 25 commanders, and all the homes and businesses that were destroyed. And now they have to rebuild the territory. And they're not going to rebuild it with their own money. They're expecting humanitarian aid, an evil humanitarian aid. This is a country that's already suffering from high unemployment. And they didn't do a good job during the coronavirus either. What's astounding to me that the citizenry of Palestine can still stand behind a group like Hamas. But then, if you look deeper into the situation, hatred is a powerful emotion, and the Jews are hated in that region. Palestinian children are taught to hate in the schools of Palestine. So in my mind, I see no reason for humanitarian aid. Maybe a generation of poor people will wake them up and make them understand that you don't have to like everybody, but you have to be civilized, and you have to accept certain things that you would rather not accept, because that's the way it is in the world. You can't have everything you want, and you have to work hard at getting what you need. And so, if you are dumb enough to allow groups like Hamas to rule your life, then you should not expect anything good to come of that. And so, I will leave you with those thoughts, and I'll see you in the morning. Bye.